critically examine the different forms of regionalism in world politics.
Regionalism is a significant phenomenon in world politics, characterized by the formation of regional clusters of states that cooperate for mutual benefit. The different forms of regionalism can be critically examined as follows. Economic regionalism. Economic regionalism involves the formation of economic blocs or agreements between neighboring states to enhance economic cooperation and integration. Examples include the European Union, EU, ASEAN, NAFTA, now USMCA, and Mercosur. Key features of this form include trade liberalization, reduction or elimination of trade barriers among member states to promote free trade. This increases economic interdependence and boosts regional trade. Economic integration. Progressive integration of economies can lead to common markets, monetary unions, and coordinated economic policies. For instance, the EU has achieved significant economic integration with a single market and common currency. Development and investment. Economic regionalism encourages regional investments and development projects. Shared infrastructure projects, such as transportation networks and energy grids, enhance regional connectivity and economic growth. Challenges. Despite the benefits, economic regionalism can face challenges like unequal benefits among member states, sovereignty concerns, and economic disparities. For example, in the EU, debates over financial contributions and bailout measures highlight these issues. Political regionalism. Political regionalism aims at strengthening political cooperation and integration among member states. This can take the form of political alliances, regional parliaments, and common foreign policies. Examples include the EU, political dimension, the African Union, AU, and the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC. Key features include regional governance, establishment of regional institutions and governance structures to coordinate policies and address common political challenges. The EU's political institutions, like the European Parliament, exemplify this. Collective security. Political regionalism often includes cooperation on security issues, fostering regional stability. The AU, for instance, has a Peace and Security Council to address conflicts in Africa. Diplomatic influence. Regional blocs can amplify their diplomatic voice on the global stage. For instance, the EU often negotiates as a single entity in international forums, increasing its influence. Challenges. Political regionalism can be hindered by differing political systems, cultural diversity, and national interests. The GCC, for example, has faced challenges due to political disputes among member states. Social and cultural regionalism. Social and cultural regionalism focuses on promoting cultural exchanges and social ties among member states. This form of regionalism includes initiatives to preserve cultural heritage, promote tourism, and address social issues collectively. Examples include the EU's cultural programs and ASEAN's cultural and social initiatives. Key features include cultural exchange, encouraging cultural interactions through student exchange programs, cultural festivals, and joint projects. This fosters mutual understanding and respect. Social cohesion. Regional organizations address social issues like education, health, and migration through collaborative efforts. ASEAN, for instance, has initiatives to combat human trafficking and promote social welfare. Preservation of heritage. Efforts to protect and promote cultural heritage, such as UNESCO World Heritage Sites, contribute to regional pride and identity. Challenges. Social and cultural regionalism can face obstacles like cultural differences, language barriers, and varying levels of social development among member states. Functional regionalism. Functional regionalism involves cooperation on specific functional areas like environmental protection, energy, and transportation. This pragmatic approach focuses on addressing common issues that transcend borders, such as climate change and infrastructure development. Examples include the European Environment Agency and the ASEAN energy cooperation. Key features include specialized agencies, establishment of regional agencies or frameworks to address specific issues. The ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance is one such example. Policy harmonization, aligning policies and standards across member states to effectively tackle shared challenges. The EU's environmental regulations demonstrate this harmonization. Joint initiatives, collaborative projects and initiatives, such as cross-border transportation networks, enhance regional connectivity and efficiency. Challenges. Functional regionalism can be limited by varying national priorities, resource constraints, and differing capacities among member states. Conclusion. Regionalism in world politics takes various forms, each with its unique features and challenges. While economic and political regionalism focus on integration and cooperation for mutual benefit, social and cultural regionalism emphasizes cultural preservation and social cohesion. Functional regionalism addresses specific issues that require collective action. Understanding these forms helps in appreciating the complexity and potential of regional cooperation in addressing global challenges and fostering regional stability and prosperity.
Explain the liberal approach to the study of international relations.
Liberal approach to the study of international relations. 1. Introduction. Liberalism is a significant theoretical approach to the study of international relations, IR, that emphasizes cooperation, interdependence, and the importance of international institutions. Rooted in Enlightenment principles, it challenges the realist view of an anarchic international system dominated by conflict and power struggles. Liberalism highlights the potential for peace and prosperity through democratic governance, free trade, and global cooperation. 2. Core principles of liberalism. Human rationality and progress. Liberals believe in the ability of humans to reason and act morally. They argue that rational actors can create institutions and norms to reduce conflict and foster cooperation. Democratic peace theory. One of liberalism's key tenets is that democracies are less likely to go to war with each other. This theory suggests that shared values and norms among democratic states reduce the likelihood of conflict. Economic interdependence. Liberals argue that economic interdependence through trade and globalization reduces the chances of conflict, as states become economically reliant on each other. Role of international institutions. Institutions like the United Nations, World Trade Organization, and International Monetary Fund play a vital role in fostering cooperation, resolving disputes, and maintaining global peace. Multilateralism. Liberalism promotes collective action and multilateral cooperation to address global challenges like climate change, terrorism, and pandemics. 3 key thinkers. Immanuel Kant. Kant's essay Perpetual Peace, 1795, laid the foundation for liberal thought in IR. He advocated for republican states, international law, and global federation as pathways to peace. Woodrow Wilson. A proponent of liberal internationalism, Wilson's 14 points emphasized self-determination, free trade, and the establishment of the League of Nations to ensure collective security. John Locke. Locke's ideas on natural rights and limited government influenced liberal principles of individual freedom and the importance of laws in governing state behavior. 4. Liberalism in practice. International institutions. Organizations like the United Nations and European Union embody liberal ideals by promoting collective security, economic integration, and political cooperation. Global governance. Liberalism supports frameworks like the Paris Agreement on climate change and World Health Organization initiatives to address transnational challenges. Economic liberalization. Policies encouraging free trade, foreign investments, and economic globalization reflect the liberal belief in mutual benefits from interdependence. 5 criticisms of liberalism. Overemphasis on cooperation. Critics argue that liberalism underestimates the enduring role of power politics and conflicts in the international system. Idealism. Realists contend that liberalism is overly optimistic and assume states will always act rationally or morally. Neglect of inequalities. Economic interdependence and globalization can exacerbate inequalities and lead to exploitation, undermining liberal claims of mutual benefits. 6. Conclusion. The liberal approach to international relations provides a vision of a cooperative and interdependent world order, emphasizing democracy, economic ties, and institutional frameworks. While not without its criticisms, liberalism continues to shape international norms, policies, and practices, offering a hopeful alternative to realist power politics. Its relevance persists in addressing contemporary challenges through collective action and multilateral engagement.
Discuss the role of the nation-state in the era of globalization.
The role of the nation-state in the era of globalization. 1. Introduction. Globalization has transformed the political, economic, and social landscape, creating an interconnected world where national boundaries are increasingly blurred. This process has sparked debates about the relevance and role of the nation-state. While globalization challenges the traditional sovereignty of nation-states, it also offers opportunities for states to adapt and remain significant actors. 2. Challenges to the nation-state. Erosion of sovereignty. Globalization reduces state control over economic and political decisions due to the influence of multinational corporations, global markets, and international institutions like the WTO, IMF, and UN. Cultural homogenization. The spread of global media, technology, and consumer culture often undermines local identities and national traditions, challenging the cultural role of the nation-state. Transnational issues. Problems like climate change, terrorism, pandemics, and cyber threats require collective global efforts, reducing the ability of individual nation-states to act independently. 3. Continued relevance of the nation-state. Policy-making authority. Despite globalization, nation-states remain the primary entities for creating and implementing laws, policies, and governance structures. Protection of national interests. States play a crucial role in safeguarding their citizens' interests, regulating trade, and ensuring economic stability. Cultural preservation. Nation-states are vital in protecting local traditions, languages, and cultural heritage in the face of global homogenization. Mediator in global governance. Nation-states participate in international institutions and agreements, shaping global policies to address transnational challenges. 4. Conclusion. The nation-state has adapted to globalization rather than becoming obsolete. While globalization imposes challenges, it also underscores the importance of strong nation-states in mediating global forces, preserving sovereignty, and protecting national interests. The role of the nation-state is evolving but remains indispensable in a rapidly changing world.
Explain the significant tenets of realism.
Significant tenets of realism in international relations. 1. Introduction. Realism is one of the oldest and most influential theories in international relations. Rooted in the writings of classical thinkers like Thucydides, Machiavelli, and Hobbes, realism emphasizes power, self-interest, and the anarchic nature of the international system. It argues that the actions of states are primarily driven by the pursuit of power and survival in a competitive and conflict-prone world. 2. Core tenets of realism. Anarchy in the international system. Realists assert that the international system is anarchic, meaning there is no overarching authority above states. This absence of a central governing body leads to a self-help system where states must rely on their resources for security and survival. State-centric approach. The state is the primary and most important actor in international relations. Realists view states as rational, unitary actors that prioritize national interests over moral or ideological considerations. Power as the central focus. Power, particularly military and economic power, is the currency of international politics. States seek to maximize their power relative to others to ensure their survival and maintain a balance of power. National interest. Realists emphasize that states act in pursuit of their national interest, defined primarily in terms of power and security. Ethical or moral considerations are secondary to the state's survival and strategic goals. Human nature and conflict. Classical realists like Hans Morgenthau argue that human nature is inherently selfish and power-hungry. This nature translates into conflict at the state level, making war and competition inevitable. 3 types of realism. Classical realism focuses on human nature as the root cause of conflict and the pursuit of power. Structural realism. Neorealism emphasizes the anarchic structure of the international system rather than human nature as the primary driver of state behavior. Offensive and defensive realism. Offensive realism argues that states seek to maximize power aggressively, while defensive realism suggests states aim for sufficient power to ensure security. 5. Conclusion. The tenets of realism highlight the enduring relevance of power, self-interest, and security in shaping state behavior in the international system. Despite its limitations, realism remains a foundational framework for understanding the complexities of global politics, particularly in conflict-prone and competitive scenarios.
Discuss the reforms of UNSC in the 21st century.
Reforms of the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, in the 21st century. 1. Introduction. The United Nations Security Council, UNSC, is one of the most powerful organs of the UN, tasked with maintaining international peace and security. However, its structure and functioning have faced criticism for being outdated and unrepresentative. Calls for reforms in the 21st century focus on addressing these issues to make the UNSC more effective and equitable. 2 key issues driving the need for reform. Unrepresentative membership. The UNSC's composition reflects the geopolitical realities of 1945, not the contemporary global order. Emerging powers like India, Brazil, and South Africa demand permanent representation. Dominance of the P5. The 5 permanent members, P5, China, France, Russia, the UK, and the USA, have veto power, often leading to gridlocks in decision-making and undermining collective action. Underrepresentation of regions. Africa, Latin America, and other regions lack adequate representation in decision-making, leading to calls for greater inclusivity. Accountability and transparency. Critics argue that UNSC's decision-making is opaque, with limited input from the wider UN membership. 3 proposed reforms. Expansion of membership. Expanding permanent and non-permanent seats to include emerging powers like India, Japan, Brazil, and Germany, G4 nations, and enhancing regional representation. Restricting veto power. Reforming or abolishing the veto to prevent misuse by the P5. Strengthening accountability. Ensuring greater transparency and inclusivity in decision-making processes. 4 challenges to reform. Resistance from the P5, competing claims among countries for new permanent seats, and lack of consensus among UN members are significant hurdles. 5. Conclusion. Reforming the UNSC is essential to maintain its legitimacy and effectiveness in addressing 21st century challenges. While progress has been slow, sustained multilateral efforts are crucial for achieving a more equitable and representative global governance structure.
Bipolar system.
A bipolar system is an international political structure dominated by 2 major powers or blocs. The most prominent example was the Cold War era, 1947 to 1991, when the United States and the Soviet Union were the 2 dominant superpowers. Each led opposing ideological, economic, and military alliances. NATO led by the US and the Warsaw Pact led by the USSR. The bipolar system resulted in a tense but stable balance through mutual deterrence, especially nuclear deterrence. Although direct conflict was avoided, several proxy wars occurred globally. The end of the Cold War marked the transition to a more multipolar or unipolar world.
European Union.
The European Union, EU, is a political and economic alliance of 27 European countries. It was established to promote peace, stability, and economic cooperation in post-World War II Europe. The EU evolved from the European Economic Community and was formally established by the Maastricht Treaty in 1993. It operates through institutions like the European Parliament, the European Commission, and the European Council. The EU has a single market, allowing free movement of goods, services, people, and capital. It also has a common currency, the euro, used by 20 member states. The EU plays a significant global role in trade and diplomacy.
The Trusteeship Council.
The Trusteeship Council is one of the 6 main organs of the United Nations, created to oversee the administration of trust territories and ensure they were prepared for self-government or independence. These territories were former colonies or mandates placed under UN supervision after World War II. The Council played a significant role in promoting decolonization and guiding territories to independence. Its mission was largely completed by the early 1990s with the last trust territory, Palau, gaining independence in 1994. Since then, the Trusteeship Council has suspended its operations, although it still formally exists within the UN framework.
Balance of power.
The balance of power is a concept in international relations where power is distributed among various states to prevent any one from becoming too dominant. This theory assumes that stability and peace can be maintained if no single nation can overpower others. Historically, this principle guided the diplomacy of European states, especially in the 18th and 19th centuries. Alliances, counter-alliances, and shifting partnerships were strategies used to maintain equilibrium. In the modern context, balance of power plays a role in strategic military alliances and foreign policies, ensuring that global power remains checked and distributed.
Multilateralism.
Multilateralism refers to the process where multiple countries work together on a given issue in a coordinated manner, often through international organizations like the United Nations, World Trade Organization, or World Health Organization. It promotes collective decision-making, equality among nations, and global cooperation. Multilateralism contrasts with unilateralism, where one nation acts independently. It is essential in addressing global challenges like climate change, terrorism, pandemics, and trade disputes. By involving multiple stakeholders, multilateralism encourages dialogue, shared responsibilities, and peaceful conflict resolution, making it a cornerstone of modern international relations and diplomacy.